continue
This
with the
conference
topics.
will now be recorded.
Now, what will
Uh,
happen is I'll finish the concepts. Nobody's asking any questions, so that means that you got it. And then what will happen is you will probably not get even 10% of what we discussed. Okay, then my feedback will be bad. That is something which is not acceptable to me. So either you ask questions or probably
yes,
drop
Rishi,
off.
I think, Rishi, hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, yeah. Rishi, actually, I think now, for me, I'm not much aware of this network thing. I know basics, but it will be better if you give a little overview for CIDR more, like you did in the last session, but still, we need
Hmm.
a little bit more understanding.
Like what?
Like, uh, how like it's getting forming. Last time you explained about the thing which whatever number will come after the forward slash. So
Mm,
still it's not very clear.
Hello.
yeah.
Yeah, Rishi, this slash 16 is means like it's valid. We can use this slash 16
Okay.
in that IP address
What about
because as you
what
show
about
in your
others? Huh?
okay,
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, as you show in your console, there is one IP address. Uh, can you please show your console, AWS console? Yeah, your IPv4 CIDR, it's showing like 172.31 dot slash 16. Okay,
Hmm. Okay.
yes. Yeah, and in there your PowerPoint presentation also you mentioned like slash 32 is up to slash 32 we can use.
Yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay. Makes sense. What about others?
No, but AWS says you cannot use more than slash 16, right? Then why? Then how come 32 will come?
We'll go there. We'll go there. My currently I'm only asking like, is the CIDR part clear?
CIDR is which is 4 digit that up to 65,000 each that that four decimals, right? Each will contain that up to 65,536 into 65,000, that one.
Okay, so it is not clear to you. What about others?
Yes, it's not clear to me also, sir.
We have one, two, three, four, five,
Sir,
six, seven, eight. I see eight people in the
sir,
call. So yeah.
is the question is that what should be the value of n so as to get the maximum number of IPs, and what will be that value to be put after the slash?
नहीं अभी अभी द क्वेश्चन इज दैट सीआईडीआर क्लियर है क्या अभी सिंपल सा इतना क्वेश्चन है कि सीआईडीआर समझ आया क्या सीआईडीआर नहीं समझ आया सो आई स्टार्ट एक्सप्लेनिंग सीआईडीआर अगेन which I anyhow have to do because Neetu has some doubts. Mahesh is not clear. So the only question is, if CIDR is not clear, which part is not clear, or everything is not clear? I'm okay with everything. If you say none of the CIDR was clear, I'll start from zero.
Yes, from zero, please. So long back, I studied this networking and final
I
engineering.
explained on last Sunday. You might have studied long back, but I explained last Sunday. Right. So that is not an excuse that you studied long back, so you don't remember. Okay. No issues. Ah,
Sorry.
okay. Before going into CIDR, so see, this is like how many of you actually did practice over the week? So I know Neetu did. Others, I think Ashutosh or Chinmay also did. One of you did. How many? What about others? Did you guys try to practice, say, IM or EC2 or S3? Anything
Yes,
apart from
sir.
that?
Sir, I created IAM user. I
Okay.
created roles over that, and I
Okay.
created EC2 instance also, and
Uh-huh.
applied policy. But I have not created that web browser link yet. I
Okay.
have not connected it to that. That part is left. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody tried auto scaling? Anybody tried load balancing?
Yes, sir.
Anybody
I'm also
anybody tried? Huh?
I'm also did, sir. Or up to auto scaling.
You did up to auto scaling.
Yeah.
Anyone tried life cycle policies? What were life cycle policies?
Life cycle policy is your data shifting to uh, bucket standard. I mean to say uh,
We want to
standard to
change the, yeah, standard to other one.
yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, who can answer me except the two people who answered right now? Others, can you tell me where life cycle policy is being used? Is it part of IM? Is it part of EC2? Is it part of S3?
S3.
S3.
S3, like how the data will be stored right from standard to glacier
Mhm.
to those things.
Okay, if I have to automatically delete something from S3, what do I do? Do I write a script in Shell or Python to do that?
It's a
I have
policy
to
generator,
automatically,
no?
You generate one policy.
sorry,
We
create do
can
what?
generate one policy generator is there. We can generate a policy and there are number of days also we can mention.
No,
Like till
that
what
that
time
that
we want to
policy is
keep.
like that policy is like who can have access and what he can access. That is not for deleting automatically.
No, for that there was a number of days, like it can't be less than 30. There was a number we can put, like till what time we want to put in one, like
Yes,
this.
that was not that policy which you are saying, which comes from policy generator. That is something different.
Okay.
Okay, so okay, another question. Hmm. So say what shall I ask which you guys can. What is the difference between a role and a user? Okay, say I have to launch an EC2 instance and I want to be and the criteria is that once the EC2 instance comes up, it should the EC2 instance should have a file which contains the name of all the students that are there in the class. So every EC2 instance that comes up should contain a file which has the name of every student that is there in the class. How are you going to do that?
Using the bootstrapping user data. So while creating the EC2 instance, so we need to add those data. So once the EC2 instance is up, so before that it will execute those script, then it will display
What script it is going to execute?
that user data script.
Okay. So, what if somebody forgets to input user data?
Otherwise, we need to create a bucket. In this one, all the files we are adding. So, and once the EC2
No,
is while creating, we need to
no,
add.
no.
Hello, Rishi.
Yeah.
Yeah, your question is like you created one EC2 instance and you have to use that particular data in multiple servers, right?
No, 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 no. So, my question is that every time I create an EC2 instance, I want some specific data to be present in every instance.
Okay,
So for that
so
we can
for that you have to create AMI.
Okay.
Yeah, and using that AMI,
Okay.
you can means like we did that practical IP config and start, and then we use that one
Hmm.
previous HTML
Hmm.
file to that new one, right?
Okay. Okay. How are you going to make sure that even after your EC2 instance is deleted, your root volume is not deleted?
so we have to assign roles which will consist of the
No,
access to the S3 bucket.
no, no.
No, in the storage by default while creating, so it will ask whether by default the root device the files whatever will be there, it will be deleted by default. There is a termination checkbox will be there. If we create the extra, so it is option is there whether you can terminate the volume whatever you added or no. So you have to check that checkbox once you create the volume, so it will be deleted automatically.
Okay. Say I have an EC2 instance which has a terabyte of volume associated to it. Okay. And I want this volume. This is not a root volume. This is a secondary volume that was connected to the EC2 instance. I want this volume to be connected to an EC2 instance which is in a different availability zone. How are you going to do this? Let me know if the question is clear or it is not clear. So I'll repeat the question. The question is, I have an EC2 instance running, which is in, say, availability zone 1A. Okay. This EC2 instance has a terabyte of volume associated to it. Now this volume contains some important data. I want this 1 terabyte volume to now be connected to an EC2 instance, which is in 1B. So how can that be achieved?
I heard that we can do replication also.
That was in S3.
Yeah.
I don't want to use S3. The volume is not connected to S3, right? S3 will be like I copy all the 1 terabyte of data from my EC2 instance to S3. Then on the other EC2 instance, I copy it back. I don't want to do that. Okay. So when you are creating auto scaling and what is the difference between classic load balancer and or what is the difference between a network load balancer and an application load balancer?
So network load balancer will use HTTP and
Hmm.
H up and sorry,
Application will use HTTP
yeah,
actually.
application will use HTTP and network will use TCP. TCP, yeah.
Yeah, protocol.
What is the difference still? I'm asking. That does not give me the difference between those two. Okay, so
Yeah.
The one difference I know between classic and application, classic and application, the classic won't use the target groups, whereas the application will use the target groups.
Rishi, and one more is like we can use, or generally we use a classic load balancer for only one instance, not more than that.
no,
Yeah, and okay.
I use classic with two EC2 instances. I showed you that in the class. Okay,
Yes.
let's
And one
go
more
back to CIDR stuff.
Uh, Hello, Rishi.
Yeah.
Yeah, classic load balancer is recommended only for EC2 in classic instance, and
No,
application can use application load balancer consist of listener rules and target groups.
no. What do you mean by a classic EC2 instance? What is a classic EC2 instance? Where did you see a classic EC2 instance? Yeah. What is a classic EC2 instance? कौन था भाई क्लासिक EC2 इंस्टेंस था? क्या होता है क्लासिक EC2 इंस्टेंस?
एक्चुअली आपका वॉइस ब्रेक हो रहा है सर.
Okay, I'm asking what is a classic EC2 instance? I don't think I ever talked about a classic EC2 instance. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying that there is no such thing as a classic EC2 instance, but classic EC2 instance existed along with dinosaurs. It is a very old concept. It was failed, I think, somewhere around 2011, 2012, or maybe 2013. Classic EC2 instances have not existed from 7 6 7 years. Okay, and I don't think I ever discussed about classic EC2 instance. It's because it's something old, which the concept is there, but practically it is no more used and it's not even present anywhere. What you said that classic is used by classic EC2 instance, we use classic with the EC2 instances that we are launching. Right, we did, right? Did we change the EC2 instance type? We used two EC2 instance with a classic load balancer. We used two EC2 instance with application with what network load balancer. All three load balancers we tried. Everyone had two EC2 instances, right?
Yes.
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 Okay. Okay. Coming back to the CIDR part. So what is this? This is how an IPv4 address is written. There are four dots, three dots, and there are four parts like 192.168.71.73. That is an IP4 address, right?
Rishi,
Something like this. Yeah.
uh, I didn't get the difference between this application load balancer and the network load balancer. One I know is only it uses that protocols HTTP or TCP. Other,
Okay. Read about it, right? How
pardon me?
many of you have access to the slides? How many of you
Yeah, we
have
got the
access to the
access.
slides? How many
We
of you
got the
went through
access,
them?
but yeah, I have not started them, but I got the access.
Okay. How many? Who else
We
has
will be
access to it?
Not yet accessed.
Awesome. Okay. So, Mahesh,
Sir,
on
I
your
have
question,
access
like,
to.
yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, I can see the folder of PPT, but there is no PPT in there. Only the video recordings are there.
That is not that is a re-recordings folder.
no, there are
In the
there
same
is
link
one
only.
Rishi's folder. I can see. Yeah,
Hello, Rishi
I
shared
can
one
see the
link
PPT.
of
Yeah.
drive in the WhatsApp group. So you have to click that drive, and then he will grant permission to you of his drive. Then we are able to see the slides and the data which he shared with us.
Okay, fine. Then I'll get myself added there. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. So, yes. So this is an IP4 address. This is how we write it: 192.168.15.26 or whatever, right? There are 4 digits, and each of these 4 parts is what is the size of each of these octets? There are 8 bits in size. Each of these 8. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
This part was clear to
Yes.
everyone, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, a CIDR notation is a way of writing a range of IP addresses. Okay, it's whenever we have to write in a way that we can see or we can deduce that how many IP addresses can be formed from the given set of numbers, we write it using a CIDR notation, which is like A dot B dot C dot D slash N. Okay, these in real life, these are all numbers. IP address is always numbers. IP4 address is always numbers. So there are 4 parts: A dot B dot C dot D slash N. N here, N denotes how many addresses can be formed using A dot B dot C dot D. Okay, including A dot B dot C dot D, how many IP addresses can be formed is derived with the help of N. Okay. Now n can be in between 0 to 32. How come 0 to 32? 0 is anyhow, we cannot go negative, so 0 is the lowest number, and 32 is we add 8 plus 8 plus 8 plus 8, that gives us 32, right? We cannot go beyond 32. Okay. Now, to calculate number of, or I should say calculate total number of IP addresses, what the formula is 2 raised to the power 32 minus n. Okay, this is the formula using which we calculate the total number of IP addresses that can be formed via a given CIDR block. Okay, making sense?
Yes.
Guys, making sense? All of you?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay. So stop me whenever you think that I stopped making sense. Okay, it's easier this way. Otherwise, पूरा खत्म होने के बाद अगर आप लोग बोलोगे कुछ नहीं समझ आया तो I have to start with 0. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So to calculate the total number of IP addresses that can be found via a given CIDR is 2 raised to the power 32 minus n. Okay. Now, we have been using this a number of times. Where we used this a number of times, this was used in security groups, right?
Yeah.
And what did this mean?
Anybody can access using any IP address they can access.
But what does this mean literally?
Open to the public.
Okay, but no, I'm looking for something else. This means what? How many IP addresses can be formed with this number?
This is unique, no? One.
How many IP addresses can be found with this number? With this CIDR?
If we use
2 to the power 32.
2 to the power 32. How come you came to 2 to the power 32 is 2 raised to the power
Because
32
the
minus 0.
formula.
That is 2 raised to the
Yeah.
power 32.
32 minus.
And what is 2 raised to the power 32? 2 raised to the power 32 is the total number of IP4 addresses available on the planet. Correct?
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Everyone is on the same page, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So when we say that the total number of IP addresses that can be formed using this CIDR is actually the total number of IP addresses available on the planet, what does it mean in simple English? It means that all IP addresses that are there will be able to access if I write this. Getting it?
Yeah.
Not getting it. Okay. Who did not understand this last part? See, silence means everybody understood. Okay, everyone understood. Good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We understood. Yeah.
So that is why whenever you put this in your security group, whenever you are launching an EC2 instance or creating a load balancer, it gave you a warning saying that improve the security of your load balancer or the EC2 instance, because it was open to everyone else. And if it is open to everyone, especially everyone available on the planet, that means it is open to every hacker, every Trojan horse, every virus to be able to access your EC2 instance. That is why that problem used to. Okay. Now, today, I made a sentence that AWS says a VPC cannot be bigger than /16. So what does this mean? That when I am creating when I am creating a VPC, my CIDR range cannot be more than or bigger than /16, not 19 /16. Okay, so if my VPC CIDR is 10.1.10.1.0.0/16, this
So,
is the biggest VPC that I can create on AWS. Okay, so when I say that this is the biggest VPC that I can create on AWS, what does it mean? I mean, biggest VPC. So how do I measure the size of a VPC? How does this denote the size of a VPC? This denotes the size of a VPC because a VPC is nothing but a collection of IP addresses. Okay, so if this is a collection of IP addresses, this helps in defining the size of a VPC. So a VPC cannot have more than this many IP addresses. Okay, a VPC cannot have more than 65,536 IP addresses. Okay,
Okay.
is it clear now?
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, yes, Rishi.
All of you?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay. Now coming to the actual VPC. Okay, let me just give you a small. Do you think this is a valid VPC CIDR?
Yeah.
How many of you think this is a valid CIDR for a VPC? Okay, everybody answer. Let's put your answers on the chat. Where is chat? Let's all of you put answers in your chat, in the chat. I'll hide it for now. So start putting your answers in the chat. And instead of selecting go to everyone, just select to that answer goes to Rishi. So in your chat, when you are typing a message, there is an option that you select that Rishi only, so that only I can see. 1 minute for to everyone. Write down your answers in the chat. Do you think only yes or no? Do you think this is a valid CIDR for a VPC? Yes or no is what is needed. Yeah,
I
I'll
think
give you
yes.
all a minute.
Networking class ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
Done? Everyone done with answers?
Yes.
I see only 5. I'm pretty sure there are more people. 6. If you're not sure, write NA. Okay, let me see. So Neetu says this is okay. Kiran says no. Parul says yes. Mahesh yes. Chinmay yes. Ashutosh yes. Manish. Ashutosh no. Manish yes. Kiran, why do you think that this is not a correct valid CIDR for a VPC? Kiran and another no. Ashutosh, why do you guys think that this is not a valid CIDR for a VPC?
I think sir 13 is I think it did a subnetting, and in networking we put only 8 and 16 for us CIDR.
No,
When
that
we
is
do
not
the
the
subnet,
reason. No, that is not the reason. Yes, there was another no.
Rishi,
Ashutosh,
I don't know the means actual answer, but I feel like it is wrong, so that's why.
you feel like this is wrong. Okay. Okay, people who think yes, guys. So this is wrong. Why this
Why
is
this is
wrong?
wrong, Rishi?
Yeah, that is. I am here to ask that question. Why this is wrong? The answer is on the screen. Open your eyes and you'll find the answer somewhere.
Because of 2 raised to n means like 2 raised to
Because 2 raised to the
0.
power 32 minus n. So when you say, see, the formula, this formula is, when you write 13, it becomes 2 raised to the power 32 minus 13. What does this become?
Yeah.
What does this number become now?
9. 2 raised power 9, I think.
Eh,
Yeah. No, 19.
19.
This becomes 22 raised to the power 19. So
19, yeah.
is this bigger than 2 raised to the power 16 or this is smaller than 2 raised to the power 16?
It will be bigger. Yeah.
together.
It will be bigger.
It will be bigger.
So you can go from, see, this is wrong. Okay. When creating a VPC, you can go to any number from 16 to 30. No issues. But you cannot go
Below
smaller than
16.
16. Yes, you cannot do this. Not possible. 16 to 32 you can go. 16 to 30 you can go. But anything apart from that, you cannot go 8. You cannot do smaller numbers. Okay?
Okay.
We can go till 32 also, no?
32 you won't be able to go because
Yeah,
then
it
there
will
are
be
no
0.
IPs.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It will be
no, it
0.
will be one. It will be one.
No,
But
power will be
then the
0. Yeah.
power will be 0. That means one IP. So problem with
Mm-hmm.
whenever you are
Yeah.
creating a VPC, it requires AWS requires some IPs for its internal networking. So you won't be able to go 30.
Okay.
Okay. Clear why this is wrong and why this is correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Now what is a VPC? Who can help me with that?
It's a collection of IP addresses, as you say.
No. Okay. What else? That is not the correct definition. It is one way of saying it, but not the correct definition. So a VPC is a logically separated private space on a public cloud that is private to you, that is private to the account to which it belongs to. A VPC is a logically separated space, a logically separated zone on a public cloud which is private to the account for to which it belongs to. Nobody can have access to a VPC until and unless you give him access to. In fact, if you mess your networking, even you will not be able to access the VPC. A VPC is an enclosed space, is an enclosed boundary, is an enclosed area on a public cloud which is private to the account to which it belongs to. Okay, so a VPC is like a wide area network which has its network defined, its network boundaries defined, and people who are authorized can only access a VPC. Okay, okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
And
So let's
AWS
create.
Rishi, AWS uses its own networking, right? It won't
Yes.
use that is a VPC you mean to say, or
No. So what do you mean when you say AWS uses its own networking?
like to connect to a different zones and regions, they have
Hmm.
their own networking, high bandwidth network connections, right?
Yeah, that is the backbone network.
So that is the VPC.
So comparing that to the VPC is like saying that when we are launching a virtual EC2 instance, a virtual server, that is running on an AWS hardware server, right? There is a rack which has a server inserted into it. That's a hardware server which is running a machine. Okay. So we cannot compare that. An EC2 is a virtual machine running on an actual machine. Similarly, a VPC is a virtual network running on an actual network.
Okay.
Okay, the what happens behind is like uh, it's like deep into networking. There are bridges defined, there are IP forwarding rules defined, there were IP tables defined, there are a bunch of routes defined, a bunch of stuff happens in the background which we cannot see from at this level, what we are doing. Abstraction, remember the one of the features of cloud computing was abstraction, that is hiding the complexity from the end user. How the stuff happens in the background, nobody knows about it and we should not be bothered about knowing that. Correct?
Okay.
Yeah. So let's create a VPC. So when I say create a VPC, it will ask me a tag. I'll say my VPC. And who can tell me an IP4 block for a VPC? Yeah. Help me with this, the first part.
10.1.0.0.
What else? Now what?
Got another 2 digits like 10.10 or 10.6.
No, it's
31.
0.0.
Okay. Fine. Not clear. You can't hear me.
No, not clear.
What is the problem? This was clear, right? 10.1.0.0/16.
Yeah.
What is the issue with this? Isn't it the same except the first 2 digits changing? That became 172.31.
Then again, in place of 0.0, so
Hmm.
can't put any data like numbers because it is 32.
So if you put numbers, do you have an option of anything changing over here? Where are you going to change your numbers? Where is the variable part? Zero acts as a variable. Wherever zero is mentioned, so if I write 10.1.00, that means these two zeros are going to be changing. They will be changing from 0 to 255.
Yeah.
Okay, so last Sunday we also discussed that this cannot be written. Anybody remembers why I cannot write this? What is the problem with this? Last Sunday we discussed about this. Why I cannot write this? Anybody remembers? Okay. So we cannot write this because as soon as I start writing numbers, right, this has fixed me that one set of IP address is already gone. So I cannot write zero because now the numbers that can be formed from this, they already have one part gone. Okay, that is why we write 000 because now I can go from 0 to 255, 0 to 255, 0 to 255, 0 to 255. That means all IP addresses are being covered. But as soon as I start putting in a number, right, say this. So I've taken down a number. This combination has one IP already blocked. So I cannot put in a zero over here, right? So zero virtually means or indirectly means that that is where a variable can be done. So if 10.1.0.0, so start counting from the left, this is 16, that means 8. I get entire 8 here, entire 8 here. So these two numbers cannot be anything but 0. They will always be 0 if I'm writing 16 over here. Okay, so that they can fully be variable. I can go from 0 to 255 in both cases. Okay. Okay.
Yes, Rishi.
Yeah, understood. Silence means a yes. Okay. Tenancy. We have default and dedicated. What is tenancy? How many of you remember we talked about tenancy in detail somewhere in the previous chapters?
This says that whether you want to create this VPC, the default which Amadeus allows, or you want a total dedicated like host or dedicated dedicated one, you want it for this one.
What does that mean?
So all the networking part and others, you have a fixed dedicated like dedicated things will be there. It will not be
No,
shared by anyone.
no, no. It has no relation to networking, by the way, just to give you guys a hint. How many of you remember we have talked about tenancy in detail somewhere in the previous chapters?
Yeah, in EC2 instance details we discussed this.
Okay, so what was that?
Like all
It's
the
like
EC2.
sorry. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yes, continue.
No. Yeah.
No, like all the EC2 instance which are launched will be running on one hardware, like which is dedicated to one client.
Okay, so how many types of tenancy we had in EC2?
Default and dedicated.
Two.
No, no. EC2 had 3 types of tenancy: default, dedicated host, and dedicated. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So what does tenancy mean over here? So the tenancy, what tenancy means over here is if I select default, I will be getting those 3 options when I'm launching any EC2 in this VPC. Okay. I will be getting those 3 options again when I'm launching an EC2 in this VPC. But if I select dedicated, the default tenancy option in the EC2 which is launched over here will be removed. Okay, it will only have 2 options, dedicated and dedicated host. When the EC2 instance is being launched in this VPC which we are creating, it will only have 2 options if I select dedicated, but if I select default, it will have all 3 options. Okay, defining tenancy over here means that you are kind of making sure that no EC2 instance is launched in this VPC that is shared across. Okay, that is running on a shared hardware. You cannot launch if you select dedicated. You are forcing that rule on the VPC. If you are using default, you still have the option to do that. Fine. I'll say
Yes.
create. So my VPC is created. See, doing thing is easy. Doing stuff on AWS is very easy. The challenge is you need to know how to do that. Okay, doing is very easy. So see, creation of VPC was what? You gave a name, my class VPC. I defined a CIDR, say 10.1.0.0/16, and I said create. The VPC was created. The only challenge was knowing how to, where to, why to create, all that stuff. Okay. So we created 2 VPCs. We can create more. By default, I can create 5 VPCs. The soft limit of VPC quota is that. I cannot create more VPCs than that. Fine. Okay, this is the default VPC. VPCs are free. You are not charged for a VPC. Okay, so all VPCs are free. Okay, so now let me open Power. So VPC is spread across a region. Okay, when I create a VPC, it is spread across a region. It covers a specific region. So when I created this VPC lies in, so if you go and see, this VPC lies in North Virginia. Okay, so this is the VPC which I create. Now, every VPC has a set of subnets. So this is one subnet. Okay, let's just change the color fill into this, do something else. So this is one subnet. Okay, so every VPC will have a subset of subnets. Now there, how many subnets can be created? We can create 255 subnets in each VPC. That's the maximum number of subnets that can be created in a VPC. Okay, subnets are, write this down, text box. A VPC is regional. Okay, subnets are zonal. So when I say zonal, that means a subnet can cover an entire availability zone. Okay, so this is a subnet. Okay, so a subnet is, so if a VPC is equivalent to a wide area network or a WAN, a subnet is equivalent to more like a local area network. Okay, if we try to bring in an analogy, consider like the housing societies we have. Okay, so each housing society has an outer boundary. Okay, now imagine that this boundary is the VPC of your housing society, and each building is a sub network or a sub zone of your housing society. Right? So each housing society's outer boundary is kind of called, can be kind of called as a VPC, and each building in a housing society can be called as a subnet. It's a part of your housing society, but it is smaller than your housing society. Okay, so VPC covers the entire region. So when I say I have created a VPC in the Mumbai region, that means it covers the entire region. Every VPC needs to have a subnet, that is mandatory, because this is where a subnet is only across an availability zone, and this is where the EC2 instances are actually launched. Okay, so an EC2 instance is not launched in a VPC, it is actually launched in a subnet, which is inside a VPC. So in a way, it is inside a VPC. So this is your EC2 instance, okay, which is launched inside a subnet. Okay, because where your VPC, your EC2 instance reside, they reside in an availability zone. Each availability zone has a set of data centers. So one of the data centers will have your EC2. Fine. Okay. Now I said that a VPC is an enclosed private area network and nobody can access it until you allow access to a VPC. So how access to a VPC is allowed? Access to a VPC is allowed via a internet gateway. Okay, so an internet gateway is a device that allows outside communication to a VPC. Internet gateway. An internet gateway is a device that allows communications to and from a VPC. I cannot send or receive packets to the outside world or from the outside world until an internet gateway is connected to it. And when I say I means I, the owner of the VPC. Even though this VPC belongs to my account, I cannot receive packets or I cannot send packets to the outside world until I have an internet gateway. Okay, making sense till this point of time? So an internet
Yes.
gateway is a device that allows communication to and from the outside world. If you don't have an internet gateway, no packet can flow in, no packet can flow out. Fine. So we created the VPC. Let's create subnets. Fine. Let's create subnets. So say I go to subnets. I'll say create a subnet. So I'll call this as my class sub. Okay, and I'll write this as this. Okay, so I'm creating this in my class VPC. I'll just add VPC to the name. Okay. Which availability zone this subnet needs to go? So this can be in any of the availability zones. I have 6, can be any. I can leave it as no preference, or I can say, okay, put this as 1A. So I'll add 1A to the name, so that from the name I can assume, I know that this subnet belongs to this VPC and it is in 1A. Okay, what is the CIDR block for the subnet will be? The CIDR block for the subnet will be, now I'll be changing the third part. I will say 2.0/24. Okay, so I said /24. That means I only require one variable field, which is this 0. Fine. For the VPC, I had /16, so I required 2 variable fields. For a subnet, it is /24. I only require one variable field, which is this. The first 3 blocks are now fixed, and I'll say create. Okay, so one subnet created, I'll create another one. I'll call this again as my class VPC. Okay, I'll call this as sub1b, and I'll call this as pub. I'll explain the naming convention. This goes in my class VPC. I'll put this in here, and this will be 10.1. Say 3.0/20. Okay, so I have created 2 subnets, which are these, one this, one this. Fine. What is remaining? I require an internet gateway. So let's create an internet gateway. So I'll go to internet gateways. I'll say create an internet gateway. So my class, I'll call this as IGW, internet gateway. I'll say create internet gateway. Once created, this needs to be attached to a VPC. So it says detached. I'll say actions attached to VPC and attached. Okay, so now you see this is attached to this, which is my class VPC, which is where my subnets got created, right? Just let me check. I'll remove my other VPC so that the this confusion does not happen. Else it will be problematic for me to manage these. Okay, so up till this part makes sense. We created a VPC, we created subnets, we created 2 subnets, we created an internet. This is what we did up till now. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Rishi, whenever we will be creating subnets, we will be making one variable in the IP always.
In the CIDR range, yes.
Yeah, it will be always one variable.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. That last variable, so when so this is your subnet, right? Just for an example, this is say 10.1.2.0/20. Okay, this is the subnet, right? We created this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yes.
coming back to the example of the society. Okay, how is your flat address defined? Your flat address is, so if your flat is located say in one of the societies in Pune, so let's say your flat is located in Pimple Saudagar, a very renowned area in Pune. So your flat address will be Pimple Saudagar dot your society name dot your building name and then your flat number, right?
Yes, sir.
So similarly,
Right.
if I ask you what could be the IP address of your EC2 instance, so your IP address of your EC2 instance will be your VPC IP, that is 10.1, then your subnet IP, that is 10.1.2. Okay, and your EC2 IP can be anything. Last zero is variable. That means your EC2 IP can be anything from 0 to 255. Okay, so when we will be launching in EC2 instances, right, you will be able to guess the first three parts because that is now fixed for this subnet. Only the last part is going to change. So your EC2 IPs can be anything from 10.1.2.0 to 10.1.2.255, anything in between. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, coming back to this initial thing. So going back to the society example. Okay, so now you have invited somebody who is coming to your home in this, who is coming to your flat, which is this. Okay, you invited somebody. Now you told him your flat address and everything you told. So using that person has come to this part, the internet gateway, the main gate of the society. That person has come. Now at the main gate, he is at the main gate. So from the main gate, how he is going to come to your building? What does he needs to know on the when he is on the main gate so that he can come to your building? What is the mandatory criteria for that? I mean, he is allowed entry. That is not a problem. But using Google Maps, he was able to come to your gate. Google Maps is not going to work inside your society, right? So how from the main gate he will be able to come to the building in which your flat is? What does he require?
Flat number.
Building number and flat number.
He knows the building number and flat number. From the main gate to the building, how does he come? What does he needs to come to your building when he is at the main gate?
Flat number.
हाँ, flat number है उसके पास. He has the flat number. He has the building.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
What else is needed?
Approval at the gate.
It's allowed. No, anybody can come in. Anybody can go out.
Then the correct path to get to that building.
He
He
should have
requires
permission.
the.
He
Should
should
have
have
what?
permission to get into the building because whether it's a private or public, that
Permission is there. I told you, right? He has the permission. So he requires the path from here to here, right? If there is, he doesn't know the path, and if your society has, say, 20 buildings, how will you know where the building lies? Yes, no,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Right.
So in network terms, those paths are called as routing tables. Okay, so I need to create a route table telling him how he can come inside. So something like this. Okay, a route table needs to be created. Okay, this route table will have details. It's difficult to create, design a freehand thing. We'll have details like a person can come uh, from here to here and then here. Okay, so let's create a routing table. So how do I create a route table? So it's easy creating a route table. I'll say create a route table. So my class underscore route. Which VPC this goes to? First one or this one? Out
first
of the
one.
two, which VPC? This
My
one,
classification.
my class. So I created a route table. Okay, this is the route table I created. I'll define a route. Okay, so in the routes, it says this is the destination, this is local, this is active. It already has a route with destination this. What does this destination mean? This destination means that all the IP addresses that are part of the VPC, the packets can flow. Okay, this is the total IPs in my VPC, right? So the packet can flow to all the IPs that are part of my VPC. Okay, so this. Now I also want to add a route to the internet. So I'll say edit routes, add route. and destination is internet. So what CIDR block will I use for internet? What CIDR block for internet? What CIDR notation means the internet? No.
Yes.
Okay. And via what? Via what I'm going to the internet is internet gateway. So I'll from the drop down, I'll select my internet gateway and say save routes. So now this route table has two routes. One destination is all traffic inside. One destination is all traffic that is apart from VPC goes via this. This is via the local network, whatever is there. And I will add a subnet to this. So which subnet? I'll add one subnet to this. So I'll say edit subnet association. Let me just check the names. So I have added this. This is same. So I'll change the diagram. This is the subnet which is now added. Okay. So this any EC2 that is there in this subnet which has been added to the route table with access to the internet, any EC2 which is in this subnet which has route to the internet becomes a public EC2 instance, or this is a public subnet. Why is this a public subnet? Because I have direct route to the internet from this subnet. Okay, why is this a public subnet? Because any EC2 instance that is set up over here can be accessed from the internet directly. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So how will packets from this subnet flow to the internet? Or say, let me ask you a different question. You have another subnet where you have a set of EC2 instances. Say I have two EC2 instances for an example, right? How do I connect to these EC2 instances? Say this is easy. I have public IP, it has a path to the internet. From my laptop, if I hit this IP, I will be able to connect to it. But how do I connect to these EC2 instances?
Gateway only.
What change I need to make in the gateway so that I can connect to these EC2 instances?
Rishi, the second subnet is public or private one?
I don't know. What do you think as of now?
As of now, only the first one is public. So if we want to connect the second subnet to internet, we need
Mhm.
to connect it through the first subnet. The communication should be like that.
But
I think
what
Okay.
what about assigning a gateway to that subnet also?
This gateway, internet gateway?
Yeah.
Internet gateway is one for a VPC. I cannot have multiple internet gateways for a VPC.
Can we use LAN?
How? That is just the wrong answer, but I'm trying to think, I'm trying to get into like how you are coming to that point. This is a LAN. This already is a creating a subnet. This has created a virtual LAN.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's go back to our society example. So somebody was standing on the gate and he wanted to go to this building. What did he require?
Gate.
What did he require? He required a route table, right? He required a
Yeah,
route table, correct? So if he
correct.
now wants to go from the gate to, what will he require? He'll
Route
require a
table.
route table, guys. He'll require a route table. And I need to simply add the other subnet to this route table. So now both my subnets become public. Okay. From here, I have a route to the other subnet also. Let's connect from here. Yes, correct.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So this makes sense, right? Okay. Now, say you have database instances. Will you keep your database instances in a public subnet? Will you or will you not?
No.
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 No. You will not keep your database instances in a public subnet. So, and these are database instances. So I'll write DBEC. So that means I cannot do this. So gone. But I still want to connect to these database instances. How do I connect to them? Now, how do I connect to them? So I can reach over here. I can reach over here. Okay. Instead of directly going from the gate to this subnet, what I can do is I will only set up a path for somebody who is coming from outside to this subnet. I will create another route table to allow communication between these two subnets. Okay, I'll create another route table so that these subnets can talk to each other. Okay, so that means I cannot have this one over here. Save. Okay, I will use another route table, which is this, and I'll add the other subnet to this. I'll explain what is happening. Okay. So let me. Okay. So see, we created this route table. Which allows all local communication, and it allows communication to the internet, right? And we connected a subnet to this route table. Fine. This is what we did. Okay. So that packets from can come to this subnet and can go out from this subnet. Okay. This is what we did. Now we wanted our other subnet to be able to talk to this subnet but not talk to the internet. Okay. So since I don't want this subnet to talk to the internet, I cannot add this subnet to this route table, which I did earlier. That I cannot do. So what I did, I created another route table, which is this. It only allows local communication, and I connected my subnet to this route table. Okay. So this subnet, both subnets have a route which allows local communication inside the VPC. So both subnets can talk to each other. So if my packet can reach over here, if I'm able to connect to this EC2 instance from here, I will be able to connect to this EC2 instance and to this EC2 instance via this route. Okay, making sense?
Yes.
Yes.
All
Yes.
of you? Okay.
Yes, sir.
In this situation, in this configuration, this subnet becomes a private subnet. Okay. So now this subnet is private, which has a CIDR 10.1.2.0/24. Okay. So this subnet has a CIDR this is a private subnet. So since this subnet is private, all EC2 instances which are part of this subnet will be private. This is a public subnet, and all EC2 instances which will be part of this subnet will be public EC2 instances. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So in real life, in real world scenarios, our instances are 95-96% time they are always in the private subnet. Public subnet is not used much. Okay, public subnet most of the time only has one EC2 instance, which is called as a jump or a Bayesian host. Okay, and it is only used It is only used to allow the engineers to be able to connect to the instances which are in the private zone. Okay. In real life scenarios, our EC2 instances are always in the private subnets. The public subnet has only one EC2 instance, the purpose of which is to allow access to the private EC2 instances. Okay, this is to improve the security of your EC2 instances. See, whatever EC2 instance is running over here can be accessed from the internet directly. Okay, since this is like you can see the internet and the internet can see you. If you are going in a car which has without tinted windows, the cars which we drive, the windows are by default like clear. People can see you and you can see them. Okay, both sides the visibility is there. This is this. Okay, private is you have tinted windows all around. Your windows are blacked out. You can see the internet, but the internet does not know who is inside the car. Okay, this is to improve, to add a layer of security. Since nobody can see who is inside, the chances of you or the chances of people outside to be able to attack the people inside is decreases. Okay, when they can see who is inside, the chances of them attacking increases. Okay, but if they can't see who is inside before attack, they don't even know whether somebody is inside or not. Okay, so the chance of attack decreases that fold. Okay, so to improve your security or to improve the security of the EC2 instances, most of the EC2 instances are kept in the private subnet. The public subnet has one and only one EC2 instance, that is for jump host or Bayesian host, that allows access to the private EC2 instance. Okay, making sense up till this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Normally there are multiple private subnets. There is not, I mean, this is like a very basic example, but we have like 7, 8, 10 private subnets, one public subnet. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So we
Rishi,
have this.
hi Rishi.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, when we create this EC2 instance, so by default it will take everything, right? Then if we want to connect to these internet gateway, then the route tables and others, we don't do that one right there.
Come again, what did you just say? I did
Like
not
whenever
understand.
we are creating a EC2 instance, so
Mhm.
we are just creating like a default VPC, then subnets, then it will, and directly we can it will create and install the Apache server and whatever the file we are entering, so it will display. But
So
if we,
here in network settings, you can go and change your VPC to your VPC instead of the default VPC.
okay,
So see, this part we never touched when we are playing with EC2 instances. Now we are going to make changes over here.
okay,
So we'll select my VPC, and once I have selected my VPC, I have two options where
mhm,
I want to launch my EC2 instance into. So I'll say launch this EC2 instance in a private subnet.
okay. The
Okay,
subnet is nothing but the collection of all the whatever the availability zones.
not collection of availability zone. A
No,
subnet
no.
is only one availability zone.
Yeah, like when you click on this subnet, it displayed all the availability zones in this particular region.
Hmm.
So what actually
So a subnet is, so say a VPC gives you 65,000 IP addresses,
Okay,
okay, and it covers the entire region. So when I say this VPC, that means all my subnets which are part of this VPC, and this can be across Virginia, okay, the
yeah,
entire region. Some networks are small parts of the VPC which cover only one availability zone. I can have more than one subnet in each availability zone. Okay, I can
yeah,
have 10 subnets in availability zone 1A, but I cannot have one subnet which covers two availability zones. Okay, so it's
Uh,
kind of similar to an availability zone. If you
come back.
select an availability
Uh, come back again, please. The
from where,
subnet one, like you mentioned, okay, I can have up to region I got it. Then within the
okay.
region, so in the subnet, all the availability zones are displayed under this North Virginia or whatever region.
Hmm.
After that,
No,
you
it displays all the subnets that you have in a VPC. Okay,
okay,
it
yeah,
displays all the subnets that you have in the VPC, and you assume them to be availability zones because, so if I go to the default one, it will display 6 subnets. See, these are all subnets.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, and these these look like availability zones because a subnet cannot go across an availability zone. That I cannot say that this subnet which I created covers 2 availability zone. I cannot say that. Okay, it's not even possible. So a subnet can only be across an availability zone. Okay,
Okay,
and you can create all your subnets in one availability zone. That is also possible, that all the subnets that you created in one availability zone, still you will see all the subnets in this list. For example, here you see like 6 subnets,
yeah,
but
yeah.
here you only see 2 because we only created 2 subnets in my VPC.
Got it, got it.
Got it?
Yeah.
Okay, so from here we can change where my EC2 instance goes, whether in private or in a public subnet. So say I select this, I'll say add storage, add tags, configure security group. So now this VPC has no security group pre-configured. So I'll have to start with creating again. I'll say review and launch, and I will say launch. Key pairs are account wise, so there won't be any problem. And this EC2 instance is launched in subnet this. Okay, so I know the IP address will be 10.1.2 dot something. So let's check out the IP address. 10.1.2.187, which can be any number between 0 to 255, right? The private IP address I can always guess what it could be. Fine. This made sense or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So now if I have to connect to this EC2 instance, how do I connect? I will have to launch an EC2 instance in this subnet also. If I have to connect to this, I have to launch this EC2 also, right? So to do that, I will do not this. I'll go to launch instances. This, change my VPC. This should go over here. I'll enable public IP. I'll add storage, add tags, configure security group. Now I'll have the security group which got created in the previous one. I'll say review and launch, and I'll say launch. So the IP of this will be 10.1.3.28. Last number can be anything between 0 to 255. Yep. Okay. Let this one come up, and I think this is the one which is public. Yes. So once this is up, I'll connect to this, and from here I'll connect to the other one. Okay. So let me connect to this. So it is connecting, but it won't connect. It says denied public key. Any ideas why it says that? Any ideas why it says this? What do I require to connect to an EC2 instance?
Access key.
access key. So the access key is missing. So I need to provide the access key. How do I
Yes.
provide the access key is, I have to copy and paste. So let me find where my access key is actually stored. Here, 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 here. I'll copy this and I'll say VI and I'll say key file. The name can be anything. So Linux does not that much of picky about names. I'll say chmod 400. I'll explain what I'm doing. Now I'll do ssh-i, okay, key file and this IP. So notice I'm currently logged in into this, and now if I do this, I will be logged in into this. So now I was able to log in to another EC2 instance, right? Okay. So what happens? What happens when we do putty? When we are doing putty, we provide an IP address over here. Then we go to SSH and provide an auth, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Similarly, when I have to connect from this EC2 instance to this EC2 instance, putty does SSH. So I did SSH -i means provide a key file, which I provided, and the IP address, which I provided, and I was able to connect to this EC2 instance. Okay. Now, since this EC2 instance does not had the key, did not have the key file, I have to copy from here and paste it over here, so that it now has the key, and I can use that to connect to the other EC2 instance.
You did this just one the public EC2 instance. From there, you connected to the private EC2 instance via this key file, right?
Yes, I did this, and this.
Yes, okay. Got it. And
Not
here,
sure if
the
there is.
IP address and others should be correct only, right? Because if I use somewhere 10.1.00 and if I attach to 10.2 something, it won't work. So that all should be perfect.
Come again, please. 10 dot, what did you say?
Like whenever we create that IC instance, EC2 instance, so that public IP address will be there. So we have to make sure that that public IP address connect to the public subnet should be the same, like except that the final digit. Otherwise, if it is 10.2.00 in internet gateway, which is the outside one, that and outside one is different, then it
This
won't
is
work.
a private IP address. This is a private IP address. So public IP address has no relation to the private IP address. I use this to connect. This is the private IP address. This and this are two different things. Public IP and private IP are two different things.
Yeah, in the first one you use this public IP address. Then you
Yes.
went to the first public subnet zone, that one. Then from there you
Yeah.
connected to the DB, the database EC2 instance
Yes.
using that private one.
Yes.
Okay.
So see, this EC2 instance is the private zone. This also has a public IP address, but I will not be able to connect to this. I can show you. It will time out. Okay. And this is a test for you. Whenever you are practicing, if you are able to connect to the EC2 instance in the private zone using its public IP address, that means there is something wrong in your networking.
That is
That's
because
why
of security group, right? If it is a timeout, that
it is
proper.
not, it's not because of security group. I'll show you. The security group allows connection from everywhere. It's not because of security. It's because there is no route to this guy from the internet.
Okay.
Do you see any route from the internet? I mean, the packet cannot flow from here to here directly.
No, no.
That is why it fails. It's not because of the security group. See, the timeout means that there is no direct path to that EC2 instance. That is why it used to timeout. Earlier, it used to timeout because there was a path, but it was being blocked by the security group. Now there is not even a path. So security group will not work if there is not even a path, right? Security group picture में आने के पहले ही वो time out हो जाएगा. Getting it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many of you have doubts with what we discussed today? Okay, so if no doubts, you have to practice this out.
Yeah.
And this is like 30-40% of the VPC concepts. We will be building on top of this. Tomorrow we'll be getting more deeper into this. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, Rishi.
Yeah. So your job is to practice this out, and I'll explain what needs to be practiced. So you need to create one VPC, two subnets, each subnet having an EC2 instance, and I want you to assign public IP to both the subnets. How that will be done is I'll show you. I don't think everybody noticed how that was done. What happened there? Loading AMI data. Okay. So I'll select this,
Rishi, can you
and
please repeat? Rishi, I couldn't
what?
hear. You were. Yeah. Can you please repeat, Rishi?
What?
You were saying now we need to create two EC2 instances.
So यही
Then
बताया
you were
मैंने.
not audible to me.
You need to create a VPC.
Hmm.
Create two EC2 instance,
Hmm.
two subnets, two EC2 instances. Both EC2 instances
Okay.
should have public IP. Both EC2 instances need to have private IP. Okay. Then I said, how do you
Okay.
assign public IP to these instances? Is when you are creating your EC2 instance. Guys, if you're not speaking, please go on mute. Okay. When you are creating these EC2 instances, select your VPC from the drop down. Okay. Then subnets will come. So you can select one of the subnets once you do this, and then the second subnet. Okay. Then if you notice, auto assign public IP is disabled. So from the drop down, enable it. Enable it when you are creating both EC2 instances. This needs to be enabled. Okay. When you will do this, then only both your EC2 instances will have public and private IPs both. Okay. So the test that needs to pass is that try to connect to public IP on both EC2 instances. This should connect, this should not connect. The EC2 instance in the private subnet should not connect using a public IP. You should not be able to connect to this guy using your PuTTY. Okay, you should only able to connect to this guy. Once you are connected to this, SSH from here to here using the private IP. Okay, this is what needs to be done. Fine.
Yes, fine.
Yeah. Any doubts? I'll explain the test again if there are doubts. Any doubts with what needs to be practiced?
No, sir.
Yes, Rishi, I don't understand everything. Like it means some things I understood, but final I don't understand. You told
What
like
did you not
there should
understand?
in the end
Which
you
part?
told like it should not, in the end you told like it should not be able to connect to the private subnet. No? Something you were saying.
You should, both EC2 instance needs to have public IP and private IP. That part you got.
Hmm. Yes,
How you are
yes.
going to assign public IP and private IP, that part also you got. Private IP will come by default. To assign public IP, when you select your
Mm-hmm.
subnet, in the next tab there is auto assign
Mm-hmm.
public IP. You need to enable that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once you do
Mm-hmm.
this, both your EC2 instances will
Mm-hmm.
have a public IP. Okay. Now the last
Hmm.
part is that when you are connecting to this EC2 instance using public IP, it should work.
Okay.
But when you are connecting to this EC2 instance using public IP, it should not work because this is in the
Okay.
private subnet. If you are able to
Mm-hmm.
connect using public
Okay.
IP to this EC2 instance in the private subnet, there is something wrong with your architecture, with your
Mm-hmm.
network. Okay, so
Okay.
that's how it should.
Hmm.
To connect to this EC2 instance, you connect to this, from here SSH to this.
Okay.
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 Any other doubts? Anyone?
ऋषि अगर वो EC2 को कनेक्ट हो गया तो फिर पब्लिक आईपी से?
इसको
हाँ यस।
तो फिर आपके नेटवर्क में कुछ प्रॉब्लम है।
तो कैसे सॉल्व करना पड़ेगा?
अब वो डिपेंड करेगा ना प्रॉब्लम क्या है, पहले तो पता चले प्रॉब्लम क्या है, फिर उसको सॉल्व करेंगे।
ओके ठीक है चलेगा। थैंक यू।
राइट। Any other doubts? Okay, if no doubts, we are done for today. We'll meet tomorrow at the same time and we'll discuss this out. Okay?
Okay, Rishi, thank you.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. Bye.